Ladies and gentlemen, we got to talk about Coach Prime today, man. Coach Prime is killing it, and I'm going to tell you, this is one of the best stories I've ever heard in all of sports. I'm a huge college football fan, obviously, as you could tell. Last week's reaction video was the Mel Tucker and everything going on there. Quick update, if you didn't go watch that video, I did want to read some of your comments below. So make sure you go comment that video. Let me know what you think about it. But today, guys, I wanted to talk to you about Coach Prime and the pros and cons, not only a little bit about him, but what's coming up on his schedule. Because if you guys haven't seen this, this is going to be the makings of an insane story. I'm going to give you my thoughts. And Coach Prime, I want you to know, if you watch this, I believe I had the money line game one against TCU. I got my, 20 point. I didn't even take the point. I took straight money line. So thank you for that. That was a great way to kick off the season. It was pretty much the only game I won all opening weekend. That being said, guys, if you don't know the story of Coach Prime, what he's doing at Colorado, he's 3-0. He's undefeated. He beat TCU. And let's just look at their schedule, okay? Let's look at it. So they went to TCU, and they won. If you didn't watch that game, one of the craziest games ever. His kid had 500 passing yards. It was bananas, right? Just bananas. Then last week, they went to Nebraska. They won. They should have won 60-14. Okay, they played like crap in the first half. It was absolutely embarrassing to watch in the first half. You could tell they were starting to let the press clippings get to their head a little bit. And then this past game took them double overtime to beat Colorado State. And here's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about the team reading reading the headlines and actually starting to believe them, right? Because look at the schedule coming up. This Saturday, they've got Oregon at Oregon. Oregon is a monster of a team, okay? Then you have USC coming to your building. Then you go to Arizona State. That's not a cakewalk. Stanford, and then you go at UCLA versus Oregon State versus Arizona, right, at home. You get 2 home games in a row. And then on the road to finish against Washington State and Utah. Most people think Utah, USC are going to be the 2 best teams of the Pac-12 this year. Guys, I think Coach Prime ends with a winning record. I do. I think obviously the 3-0 start is hot. I see Arizona State, Stanford, Arizona being 3 more wins. That's 6 right there. That makes them bowl eligible. But against ranked opponents, guys, at Oregon, I think this is going to be a big test. And here's the problem, guys, is Coach Prime has got so much notoriety. I mean, look at this last game. He's got Lil Wayne bringing them out on the field. He's got The Rock doing pregame speeches. The Rock is doing pregame speeches at your, from a recruiting and branding point, this dude is a genius. There is no young college football player. Guys, here's the problem is Coach Prime can't really be replicated. I was going through this the other day, and I was thinking, what athlete could actually replicate Coach Prime? Bo Jackson comes to mind, right? Barry Bonds comes to mind in baseball. If he wanted to coach college baseball, he could. Ken Griffey Jr. But again, they don't have that presence. They don't have the brand. They don't have the persona that Deion Sanders has. And there's not really any NFL athletes, that I can see doing this outside of maybe if Peyton Manning or Tom Brady decided to go be a college coach. Even then, I don't see with the kids that he wants to recruit, the way that he wants to play, the attitude of the team, just the personnel that Coach Prime wants. You are watching a branding legend. Coach Prime is probably one of the greatest all-around athletes to ever play. He played professionally in the MLB at the same time as the NFL and is arguably the best cornerback to ever play the game in the NFL. Arguably one of the greatest punt returners, if not the greatest punt returner in the history of the NFL, right? And the way that they're doing punts nowadays, it's between him and Devin Hester, and that's really it, right? As far as returning punts, that's it. Those are the 2 that are GOATs. And honestly, if you had to have me rank them 1 and 2, I'm putting Prime ahead of them because Hester was a mediocre receiver at best. Prime was a shutdown corner and could play wide receiver and could punt return and play baseball. The dude has rings. There's no defensive back on earth who doesn't want to play for this guy and learn from this guy because he was one of the GOATs to ever do it? The problem is there's no other athlete, past or present, that can pull this off. And then to have the brand and what he's doing on top of it with, I mean, you're playing at Colorado, who was no offense, they were bottom tier team. Like even in the Pac-12, which is crap, right? The crap 12, like even there, they were trash. And now they're 3-0, they're undefeated, they're ranked. They beat the team who played in the national title. Although they shouldn't have been there, TCU got there, right? Like everyone knows, shouldn't have been TCU, right? Like Alabama was better, Ohio State was better, but it is what it is. The real championship game was Ohio State, Georgia, let's be honest. But that's another story for another video. The point is, you've got Lil Wayne out here. You got The Rock. He has Michael Irvin. That's Emmitt Smith. I mean, look at the guys he's bringing in to talk to his players. It's unbelievable what this dude's doing. I mean, just literally changing the way college football is. I'd be curious what you guys think his record's going to be at the end of the year. Comment what you think his record's going to be at the end of the year. But I'm telling you guys, I see him 3-0 right now. I believe Coach Prime. I don't know if you can go into Oregon. I think your team needs to taste defeat in order to be as good as they could be. I mean that. We don't know what the status is of Hunter, right, which is a huge thing because that dude is Oregon's offense is so good that if you don't have your best player, I think you're going to have a real hard time against Bo Nix and that team. So I think Oregon takes them. I think USC is a playoff contender this year. I don't think, to me, it's Texas, USC, probably Georgia, and probably Ohio State gets in just because I think the Big Ten is trash this year. Michigan, I don't believe in Michigan this year. I know, you guys can say whatever you want. I'm a Michigan hater. So, they might be the best team in the Big Ten, but I see Texas. I see Georgia. I think Alabama's having a down year. I think, obviously, LSU could be a dark horse. Even lose. Florida State's up there as another team that come out of the ACC. They're stacked, right? I think the days of Clemson, Alabama, and everyone else, I think, are dead, to be honest with you. That's another video that I can make. But let's just keep going through the schedule. So I see 2 losses. I see you being 3-2, and then 4-2, 5-2, okay? We're back in the top 25. Going against UCLA, we'll see how they end up. I think you beat UCLA at UCLA. I think it's a signature win. I think you get to 6-2. I think you beat Oregon State. I see 7-2. I think you beat Arizona. That's 8-2. Washington State's a tough one for me. I don't like how that team matches up against a team like Colorado, but I'm going to go 8-2 or 9-2, whatever we're at. And then I think Utah at Utah to end the season. I don't think it's going to matter at that point because at least for Colorado, I think it could matter for Utah, depending on how USC obviously turns out. But I think depending on how the Pac-12 plays out, I think Utah ends up winning that game, and Coach Prime ends up with 3 losses his first year, which would be an insane turnaround for 1 year with all the transfer portal players, et cetera. And here's the problem, guys. Here's what I think is going to happen is I think you're going to get all the haters and all the Coach Prime haters. They're going to come out after Oregon beats them, right? And again, I think Oregon's a great football team. I think USC is a top-tier football team, and they have them back-to-back weeks. This is not a cupcake schedule, guys. If you add TCU in there too, this is not an easy schedule. This is a lot of ranked opponents. This is a lot of quality football teams. Now, they have a lot of guys. Their defense has been more impressive than I thought it was going to be. But I got to tell you guys, what Coach Prime is doing, I think the portal, I think if what you saw him do in the portal last year, I think if you thought that was special, wait till he gets recruits. Wait till he goes to high schools. Wait till he gets the transfer portal of all these other guys. Because they're all reaching out. There's kids, especially with the NIL, this dude understands he's in the perfect time to disrupt. You have the NIL, and no coach has really figured it out yet, right? Mel Tucker actually did a pretty good job his first year of figuring out the transfer portal, but now you've got the transfer portal and the NIL money, and Coach Prime is built for this. He's just built for it. It's the perfect time for someone to come in and disrupt, and you're seeing it because Saban and his team look like crap against USF. They lost to Texas. Texas is their offensive line is massive, and they're going to do well, but I don't see them winning the SEC. I hope they do. I love Alabama. I'm a huge Nick Saban guy. I got a signed football in my office. He's my favorite coach, but I'm telling you, I don't see them coming out. So here's what you got. And Clemson, I think, is done. I don't think Clemson's a top-tier team anymore. I don't think they're I think Florida State's the best team in the ACC, and I don't think it's close. I really don't. I don't think it's close. I think Florida State's the best, and I think they're head and shoulders the best. I think they're finally back. I think they're recruiting kids the way that they should have been the entire time. Very impressed with them. But I think this year, if you finish 9-3 with that schedule on your first year, with the percentage of Challenge Portal kids, with being a first-year head coach, I don't see how you lose in that scenario. I think the next year you bring in even more talent, you get your offense even more comfortable, and I think you're a playoff contender the following year. I really do. I think by year 2 in the Pac-12, with all the moves going on, with all the conferences rearranging next year, I think next year Colorado puts itself in a place to win the Pac-12 and go to the playoffs. Now, again, USC's a tough team, but they're not going to be there, right? So it's going to be what? I mean, there's not really going to be that many teams left in the Pac-12. So I really think this is Coach Prime's easiest path to the playoffs moving forward, especially with the new rules and everything else coming in. So I would be willing to say that Coach Prime will be a playoff coach year 2. That's my hot take right now. Okay, you can record this. Hopefully I'm right, but I don't know. I believe. So I'd be curious what your guys' thoughts are on Coach Prime, man. He seems to be doing a great job. Every game has been – I've watched every single game so far at Colorado, and I've never watched a Colorado game in my life. Watching what he's doing, watching his team, watching the players, watching his son, my God, as a quarterback, that kid is a monster. That kid has and it's not, he doesn't do it the way the typical college quarterback does it. His ability to see the field, his ability to read defense, his accuracy, I mean, his power, like this dude's an NFL quarterback. I mean, I think he's an NFL prospect quarterback. I think there's a lot of guys out there. I'm not sure he's the number one quarterback, obviously. I think there's a lot of guys that are a little bit better than him. But I think as of right now, I mean, if he was in the draft, I'm taking him. I'm not taking him first. But if he's in the draft, I'm putting him on my team because, again, his field vision, his intelligence, his accuracy, his swagger, the dude's got it. He's a big kid, great arm. I think they're in for an awesome, awesome season. But this is a rough schedule, guys. This is a rough schedule, but just look at what he's doing. I mean, you're telling me this guy isn't going to have one of the top 5 recruiting classes next year? You're telling me this guy isn't going to have the number 1 portal recruiting class next year? I mean, I don't see Saban and Dabo and Brian Kelly and Jimbo. I don't see those guys beating this guy when it comes to getting the best talent to come play for him. I think he has more demand than all of those guys in 3 games. Now, again, if they crap the bed and go 3-9, right, then maybe it changes. But I think if they're 500 or above, with the notoriety, the people he's bringing in, the things that he's doing, the way that he's appreciating how the NIL is working and how he can bring these guys in now, and the celebrities and the rappers and the players and the Hall of Famers. I mean, the dude's just like, if you're in the locker room in Colorado, you don't know who you're going to see. You're going to see multi-billionaire The Rock. You're going to see the GOAT, Lil Wayne. You're going to see Michael Irvin, Emmitt Smith. Like, I was a Cowboys fan growing up. Like, I'd be in heaven. And these kids, like, if you want to play football in the league and you want to get paid NIL money, you go to Colorado. That's where you go. As of 9/19, baby, that's the school I'm picking. Unless I'm going to be quarterback at Texas or quarterback at Ohio State or running back at Michigan, right? Like, there's a few positions that probably demand more money, but I'll be damned, man. As a team, Colorado is going to be the place to be. And unless something catastrophic happens, I don't see any way to change it, and I don't see any schools being able to duplicate it because Prime's unduplicatable. The dude's a winner since literally day one. And I'm in Fort Myers. That's where I live. So he literally went to high school in North Fort Myers. I didn't even know that till a couple days ago. The dude obviously went to Florida State, did incredibly well there. He played for the Niners. He played for the Cowboys. He played in the MLB. The dude's a legend. And now he's bringing all of that in. I have never been more excited for what was otherwise has been a mediocre college football season. I know this weekend we've got some good games with Ohio State, Notre Dame. And there's some other great games on the 3:30 roster spot. I'm Eastern Standard Time, obviously. There's some great games this weekend. Obviously, Oregon in the afternoon against Colorado. That's going to be a must-watch, right? And the schedule's finally started. But, like, so far, this college football season has been mediocre at best. LSU didn't look very good to start. Florida State looks great, but they didn't look good against Boston College. You've got Alabama, who just has looked like dog crap. Texas looks pretty good, right? Like, USC looks phenomenal. Like, but again, there's no real good stories this year, right? Like there's your big names, there's your Caleb's, your Drake's, your all those other ones. But I think they're all second fiddle to Prime. I think Prime is the biggest story, hands down, S-tier story. Everyone else is B-tier. I don't even think there's an A-tier behind them. That's how good what this dude's doing is. And I love college football. I love all the teams. I think what Notre Dame's doing is special this year so far. I think obviously their first test is going to happen this weekend. But their offensive line, man, is another thing. But I just don't see a storyline like Coach Prime. I don't see a storyline. I don't see a recruiting class. I think Saban and Dabo, again, I don't see them as the top being able to beat this guy in recruiting right now. I don't see it. I think if you sit down in a family room with Coach Saban or you sit down in a family room with Coach Prime, I think you're going Prime. And I don't know any coach you put in a living room that dude walks into that your kid doesn't commit to him. I think he's going to have a top 5 recruiting class, easy. I think he's going to have the best transfer portal class that we've ever seen. And it might be so disruptive that it changes the game of college football again. Like, they might have to figure out some rules because Coach Prime is about to change it all. And I'm telling you guys this. I have never seen anything like this in college football, and I have watched it religiously since I was 10 years old. I'm 38. Like, it's my sport. It's my love hobby, and I'm telling you, I have never seen something so exciting as Coach Prime in college football for a school that doesn't matter like Colorado, right? So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. If you like this video, smash the like button. If you hated it, leave a comment and tell me how much I suck. Just don't dislike it. Right? I'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel, help me grow. Whatever you can do, that'd be awesome. And as always, we'll see you soon.